All right, so yesterday, Night Trap and I, me and my Night Trap, we went to a hobby store. We hit up two, uh, and surprisingly, there was two hobby shops in the same plaza area, which I've never seen before. Very unusual. Just because hobby stuff is such a niche activity. It's such a niche thing that like just finding one hobby shop is sometimes quite the task. And so for two to be within the same plaza, that that was kind of surprising for me at least. So the first one we went to, it was called Toys on Fire. I was gonna call it Hot Toys, but yeah, it was called Toys on Fire, and they had a number of Sorry, I don't have a business card or anything. I didn't think about that, but yeah, they mostly specialized in like. Actually, I would just say they just had a very general kind of like selection of stuff, including like collectible toys, Gunpla, of course, and a decent selection of Gunpla, by the way, and non-Gunpla, as well as like regular tanks and cars, blah blah blah, cards, all of that stuff. But what did I buy? What did I buy? I only bought one thing. Night Trap ended up buying. He went there specifically because they had the Wing Gundam movie Endless Waltz real grade, which is pretty neat. And I bought a something that is actually kind of a bridge between the robot plastic robot hobby and the miniature, the miniature based hobby. I bought something that's kind of like in between. So what could that be? It was this. Transformers from WizKids. Optimus Prime. Look at that. Look at that. This is so cool, and it was like just 6.95. Like if you're coming from the world of Warhammer, that is an insane deal, right? Because a lot of Warhammer stuff is quite pricey. But I didn't really know that WizKids was making this. No, it's not for HeroClix. It's because WizKids actually makes a number of models for D&D as well as other game systems. This I actually have no idea what it's used for. I don't know if there's like a game system for this or HeroClix. Maybe there's HeroClix, but this is very much not a HeroClix. There's no click or anything click base. I know that there's a third party company who made an unofficial Transformers miniature based game, and then they went on to make unofficial Transformer models, and it became reasonably popular to the point where I wouldn't be surprised if WizKids and Hasbro kind of picked up on it, because WizKids is ultimately owned by Hasbro. I'm actually not sure. It says WizKids and then NECA. I don't know if NECA is owned by Hasbro or something like that, but nevertheless, an opportunity was there, and so yeah, they made models, and I think this thing looks great. I'll open it up in a second, but I'll if you look right here, there's also Megatron, which is really cool, and there should also be. I looked into this after buying this. I looked into what else they have, and they don't have much. I think that they're going to be making more later on. But yeah, if I end up liking this, I might paint more, and then maybe I'll look into that other game, that unofficial game, and maybe I'll play it. I don't know. But here, let's open this thing up and take a look. I'm pretty excited about this. I saw this amongst all of the normal D&D miniatures that WizKids make, like elves and orcs and stuff, dragons, and I saw this and I was like, yep, that's gonna be a buy, especially for the price. Oh, look at the grid in the background. It's kind of like the old retro packaging for the toys. Whoop! Sorry guys, the thing just kind of flew out of my hands. Interestingly, there's some decals here, and they include Decepticon sticker decals, which is pretty weird. I think that they actually have decals and stickers, like traditional stickers. Let's take a quick look here. Yeah, they give. Hold on, there's actually multiple ones. Oh shit! Careful, careful. There's a tape. The tape got kind of stuck on the decal there. Let's just open it up fully. Bacon. Now I have more stuff to paint. Yep, the backlog grows. And actually, about that, so just beyond what you can see on the camera here, I have several models lined up on my painting queue, kind of, and that whole pileup was getting too much, right? So I actually spent some time the other day putting away some models, or just putting them in boxes and shelves and sort of away from my immediate vision, and that way there's just less of this pressing feeling of like, oh shit, there's just so much to paint. Like the big Borborygmos guy from Magic the Gathering that I got around the time of my birthday. That guy was just staring at me, primed. I put it away, right? Because I'm not going to be able to paint that in the near future. I'd really like to mostly finish this guy. And then I'll be kind of freed up to do some other stuff. But yeah, I put away a number of models. Just they're close by. I know where they are, but I don't really want to have to deal with them right now. So yeah, which one is which? I think this might be the... Okay, this one is the decal sheet. I'm pretty sure this is the decal sheet. And then this one is the stickers. So it's actually kind of nice that they give you both. That's kind of cool. Let's take a look at Prime himself, Optimus Prime. Let's transform and roll out. Now, they actually say that this is a HD. It's an HD mini, which is interesting. I don't know what that means specifically, but like the other WizKids models from the pre-primed line, like Borborygmos, they are, as I said, pre-primed. So I don't need to spray this or hand prime this anymore. It's been treated already, so I can get directly to painting. However, there's a problem with that, and it's the preparation of the model. So if I were to do this myself, and actually preferably I'd rather just do this whole process myself and prime it myself, but this is the only way that these models come in. It's just how they do their business, I guess. But ideally, if I were to do this myself, I would do a far better job of cleaning the model up. And Bacon knows from Gunpla and stuff, there's seam lines, there's flash lines, there's all sorts of mold lines and stuff. And I can see them already on the model. It's still present. And yet the model has been primed on top of that. So what that means is, if I'm going to be cleaning up this model, I'll actually be cutting into the I'll be cutting into the primer coating and then getting into the plastic. It's kind of annoying, and I've actually seen a couple of people online strip the model completely using some kind of solution. I'm not really sure what they're using. I did look into that, but I've since actually, you know what? When I was investigating Borborygmos, the Magic the Gathering model from WizKids, they used... The one video I watched just used kind of like a alcohol, just a solvent, right? And you don't want it to be too strong. You kind of dilute it a bit with water, because you can run the risk of melting the plastic of the model. You don't want that, of course. But for this model, I don't think I'll be doing that. I'm just going to kind of clean it up a little bit, clean up the mold lines a bit. I'm kind of doing it right now as we speak. But I don't want to go too overboard, and if the model kind of ends up having some mold lines, visible mold lines after painting, that's fine too. I'm not really looking to turn this into a masterpiece, you know what I'm saying? I can't one, but I have to listen to the audio at the one. No Bloodborne today, okay. Yeah, so I'm just taking a look at the mold lines real quick. There's some work to be done. Oh, on the bottom of the foot it says Hasbro 2019, so it's a few years old by this point. But that's okay, that's cool. Yeah, a lot of mold lines here just along the arm. But in general, like especially when you look at it from head on, I think it looks pretty good, and it's such a simple model too, in terms of like the shapes, very sharp edges, very blocky. So I think it's going to be pretty fun to paint, I think. And I haven't really thought about what kind of paint style I'll be doing for this guy. I haven't really thought about it, but as Bacon said, it's just another thing to paint. Add it to the queue. Actually, let's hide these stickers. I'll just put them away for now, so I'll make sure I don't lose them. And this guy, he's so cool that I might bump him up on the queue. If they had a Bumblebee, I'd probably get a Bumblebee. I like Bumblebee. You know what? Do I like Bumblebee? I don't know. I feel like I've been programmed to like Bumblebee just because of the movies and stuff. I was more of a Grimlock guy. So if they ever make Grimlock, I'll definitely get Grimlock. They also had Megatron, but I didn't pick him up because I thought like, I'm not sure if I'm going to really enjoy the quality of this, like painting it and stuff. And yeah, the mold lines, it'll be a little bit of a hassle, but it's not impossible. And in fact, using some sanding tools might be useful. We shall see. Let's just try and take a quick look here. Yeah, as I said, it's a little tricky just because the model's been primed, and so the mold lines are that much harder to really clean up, because you're gonna have to cut into the primer coating, and they do. I'm not gonna say that they slopped it on, the primer coating, but it is something to think about. Anyways, yeah, so that's the first thing I got. Pretty neat. Sanding it might be easier. I think so. I think you're right there, Bacon. Although, when I do that, it means that I'll probably have to reprime, because I'm gonna be sanding the primer surface off, and then going back. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, and it's not that hard because he's such a blocky model after all. So, anyways, the next store, and again, that was at the same plaza, was a store that was more oriented towards Magic the Gathering and collectible card games, other collectible card games, and as well as RPG stuff like D&D, to the point where I was actually pretty surprised, like how much D&D stuff they had. It was actually the most D&D stuff I've ever seen in a single store. And it made me think, like, damn, like this D&D is like pretty damn popular now at this point, isn't it? Isn't it like one of the #1 earning streams on Twitch is Critical Role, which is a D&D stream. But yeah, just so much stuff, including models. Like they had like so many models, as well as hobby stuff, right? So this is actually something that Night Trap bought. He bought some primer, some white primer, because we ran out. So, that's just a little thing there that he bought. And I did buy a miniature. I'll show that last. I did get this brush, a new tiny brush. This is from a brand that I've bought one paint from them, and it's a pretty good paint. It's called Army Painter, and it's made in Denmark, interestingly enough, the house of Lego, and it says Wargamer Insane Detail. I don't know if you guys can see that. Wargamer Insane Detail. And they had another brush that was even smaller, brush tip, that was called like Psycho Detail, but I don't think they had any. I would probably be interested in seeing this Psycho Detail brush. Psycho Detail. But I figure this Insane Detail brush might be good enough for eyes and stuff. Like I was saying earlier, I couldn't find my tiny brush, my current small brush. It's kind of not pointy anymore. That's also why I wanted to buy this, just to try it out. And And if you look at the shape of the handle of the brush, it's kind of like this trapezoid shape, triangular trapezoid. And I think it's like a little better to handle. Like, so sometimes, as it happens when I'm painting, especially with the normal sort of rounded shaft, right? My hand might slip, you know, and then suddenly, whoop, you know, you're painting like a big slash on your model, right? Because your hand slipped. But with this, because it's this kind of like triangular shape, it's just a nicer grip. So I'm interested in trying that. And there's even like a little divot here, which I'm assuming kind of nestles into your hand right here, like that. And yeah, look at that. Insane detail. Interesting. Let's put this cap on. I have a bunch of these caps. I normally use them, but then I kind of forgot and got lazy about putting caps on top of my brushes. But yeah, got a little insane detail brush. What else did I get? Oh, right here. Another Army Painter paint. Shining Silver. This is a much brighter silver than the one that I currently have. This is the Citadel base paint Lead Belcher, which is pretty good for guns and stuff, and like maybe like dark armor. And on the camera it looks pretty bright, but it's actually quite dark. And if you compare it to this, you can clearly see that it's much lighter, right? And this is called Shining Silver. That was actually the same name of color from Warhammer, from the Citadel line. They used to call it Shining Silver. And this has 18 milliliters. 18 milliliters. And what about this? 12 milliliters. And I guarantee you the Citadel one costs a lot more. What about P3? How much is in P3? This is also 18 milliliters. But yeah, I've come to really appreciate this this design, the dropper bottle. It's very easy to use, rather than the standard kind of pot that Citadel uses. And many times a lot of paint kind of gets dried and gunked up in the cap, and I have to clean it up, because if you don't close it properly, air starts to flow in and it dries your paints. So with something like this, you don't really have to worry about that too much. And mind you, you're already getting less paint in these bottles, and a certain percentage of it is always going to end up being dried, right? Because of the design here. And with this, you aren't going to run into that problem as much, just because of the design of the dropper bottle. And the main reason I bought this was because we'll be touching up this guy. And yeah, as you can see, I put the Lead Belcher on this model, right? And it looks fine. I have to say it looks pretty okay. But if you look at the example on the box, I don't have the box on me, it's a much more shiny, it's a much more chromatic kind of look. And I think that this is going to be a better result for this model. And we might actually test this out today, actually. We'll give that a little quick try out. I was actually kind of thinking maybe a brush. Sorry, maybe one of those pens, those Gundam marker chrome pens would probably do a pretty good job of getting a nice reflective look. But I don't know, I didn't think about that. I just used what I had on me, and then it kind of occurred to me that it was a little too dark. Alright, Cantuan. Catch you later. And here's the last thing I got. Boom. Again, this is from WizKids. And it's Mimics. And again, this was actually the same price as Optimus Prime. And you get 2 Mimic models. Here's a painted example of the Mimic. Look at that. And this one is actually like a barrel, like a keg mimic. And yeah, I didn't see this at first. Night Trap showed me, and I was like, okay, yep, that's a buy. We're gonna get that. And again, this was from Wizard's Tower, very nice store. Uh, as I said, it was more oriented towards card games and stuff, but they did have some hobby type stuff like paints and blah blah blah, as I already showed. But yeah, this line of miniatures, they're fairly inexpensive, and you get two, and they're pretty neat. And again, this is from, yeah, they're made from WizKids, which is really interesting. I already opened it up because I'm just too excited to... Oh, okay, there's some bases here. Interestingly, the bases are clear. How big are these bases? Holy crap, they're so small. Bacon, mimics, that's awesome. Yeah, yeah. Everyone likes mimics. Well, like, is that the right word? Everyone likes to... You love to hate them. How big is this? It's 2.5 centimeters, or just about 1 inch. 1 inch in diameter. And yeah, interestingly, they're clear. And I think that some D&D gamers like to have clear bases. That way they can see like the grid underneath, as you know, if they're playing with a grid, or the texture and art design of the dungeon. And it means that they don't have to base them themselves. Let's take a look at this barrel mimic first. Very interesting. Barrel Kun. Let's take a look at this barrel guy. So it seems as if the straps, like the metal bracing of the barrel, has kind of turned into the claws of the mimic. And the bottom of it, which was like formerly the base or the nails, have kind of turned into long, elongated tentacles kind of thing. Can you imagine playing D&D with your friends, and there's just like a normal barrel, like a model, because they do sell that too, like a normal normal model for a barrel, and then the dungeon master is like, and then it turns into a mimic. Ah! It comes with some detail on the base, but I can't really make out what the detail of the base is supposed to be. Is it supposed to be like the floor of a cave, or is it supposed to be the floor of a tavern? It just looks like a weird general texture. But yeah, this mimic does appear to have eyes. It seems like the eyes are kind of surrounding the hole here. Multiple eyes. And then the claws and the big tongue, of course. And it feels pretty solid, actually. Not bad. There's, again, I'm seeing some issues with mold lines, but not too bad. Not too bad at all. And in fact, I would say that they've kind of cleverly designed the model in such a way that the mold lines are disguised by the design, like the lines of the casket, is that what it's called, of the barrel, kind of flow with the mold lines kind of thing. So it doesn't seem too bad. Not too much work involved with this one. Let's take a look at the other mimic. This is the main event. This is the classic mimic. Get this up here. Sorry, let's get this guy up here. And there we go. This is the main event. It's really cool how they've made the treasure chest kind of contort and bend as if it was alive and leaping at you. Like, you can easily imagine that it used to be just a normal treasure chest, very straight and normal shaped, right? And then suddenly it leaps into action and attacks you. and the tongue is gigantic. And I'm thinking about using some gloss varnish. I think you were asking about this previously, Bacon, about what did I use? And it's actually this. I've had this for a very long time. Tamiya Color Acrylic Paint Clear X22. And yeah, it's kind of like this clear varnish stuff. So I would paint the tongue. I would paint the tongue like pink or red or whatever. And then I would slop it all over the tongue. And then it would just get this very pink, sorry, not pink, a very wet look to it. So yeah, that's all I use. I'll show it again so you know. Water soluble, store tightly capped and away from direct sunlight. Use in a well ventilated room. Yeah, that's funny. It's acrylic paint, but it's still potentially toxic. Yeah, I remember you saying if you can use that for the eyes. I think you could. Here, you know what? Tell you what. Here's Beholder Kun. Or is he Beholder Senpai? Because he looks at me with judging eyes as I work to make sure I'm being productive. So I've already sprayed this guy with a matte coat. And how about a little later, I'll put a coating of this stuff on, and we'll use that as an experiment. We'll try that out. We'll do that a little later. But yeah, this guy, again, I'm seeing some issues with mold lines, and they tried to kind of disguise the mold lines to kind of conform to the contours of the model. There's something like along here, which is supposed to be like the side, sort of the side of the mouth, like the webbing of his mouth. Is that what they call it? The webbing? And then it goes along here. He's got a lot of teeth. And he's got several eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Some spikes on top of the head. And yeah, this is a really nice model just because it feels very alive. Like it's kind of animated. You know? It's really neat. And I'm thinking, I wonder if I could take it apart. Because painting the inside of his mouth looks really hard. There's like the roof of his mouth and the underside of his mouth. I think that's going to be kind of hard unless I just kind of spray it all black. So yeah, and I was thinking about converting this and making it look more like a Dark Souls mimic, but I might buy a second one. We'll see how easy it is if I can buy a second one so I could have one that's like a D&D type one and then one that's like a Dark Souls one. And basically what I'd do is I would I'd find some long arms. I might have to look in my bits box, or I could kind of attempt to sculpt them myself. Some long arms that would jut out from within the mouth, and then some legs, some spindly, skinny legs to come out underneath. It wouldn't be too hard of a conversion. I'm thinking about it because it would look really cool. And there's the eyes here. I might have to just leave the eyes as is, so it'd be kind of like a mix of a D&D / Dark Souls mimic. Or I could get rid of the eyes completely. I'm not sure. That's why I would want to possibly get 2 models, just because it would be a little easier to... I'd feel a lot better about having one that's normal and one that I'd hack up. And man, they're only like $6 or something for 2 models, so yeah, pretty fun. And my little D&D collection grows. D&D monsters. I've got Beholder Senpai and two mimics. So yeah, what other monsters should I get? Because they basically have made every single monster from D&D as a miniature at this point, which is actually pretty amazing. I think Night Trap was looking for what are they called? Those guys with the tentacle faces. Mind Flayers. That would be cool. Maybe some Dark Elves. Some Dark Elves would be kind of neat to find. But yeah, they've made so many models. It's and yeah, they're fairly inexpensive, so it's kind of really easy to collect for them. And they do sell painted ones too, which is pretty cool because I think that's what makes the line really popular. They sell both ways. So for people who really want to get into painting like me, they can do that. Or if you want to just have something ready to go for your next D&D session, and you don't want to have to paint them all, you can just boom, get ready. Mind flayers, yeah, I almost feel certain that there's mind flayer models ready to go. So yeah, that would be pretty cool to find something like that. Like, yeah, they have hero models too. They've got like, you know, a elf sorcerer and human paladin, dwarf ranger and barbarians and half orcs and all of this stuff. They've got hero models for sure. But it's the monsters that interest me the most. they're more fun to me, I think. I don't know. Also the models themselves for D&D, they're very small. Like the humans, this is from Warlords of Erewhon, and this is more closer to the scale that I'm normally used to painting. This monk here, but you can't really tell from this treasure chest, but the human scaled models are very small, and like their eyes and their faces are just really small, and it would be kind of hard to paint, I think, but maybe not, I don't know. But they also make like gigantic dragon models from the same line, like WizKids, and these are models that like go up to like just below your kneecaps, like freaking huge. And even like we saw they had this gigantic ship which is like longer than the entire frame of my screen here. They had this gigantic sailboat. I'm like, damn, this D&D hobby is popular. People are forking over a lot of dough for their little plastic dudes to play in their D&D sessions. Well, it's like, who am I to judge? Who am I to judge? When I'm very much prepared to fork over nearly the same amount of money for equally silly stuff, like big robots. Just replace big robots with a big dragon, right? It's almost the same thing. So yeah, D&D mimics, and that's what we bought at our latest excursion to 2 hobby stores. Here, let's line them up. So the first place, Toys on Fire, they had a pretty good selection of Gundam models, but like I said, nothing really caught my eye, and maybe that's because they didn't really have any Mecha Musume stuff. I feel like that's the kind of thing that I'd be more prepared to be like, okay, have a significant chunk of dough. But when it comes to Gundam, it's more like I'm very picky about the Gundam models that I like to get, and I guess they're just kind of hard to find or something. So, and also I haven't really made my mind up as far as what's gonna be like the next big Gundam model I wanna buy. I mean, ideally, I'd like to buy a real grade just to experience the quality of real grade, or any quality beyond high grade, because that's mostly what I'm more familiar with. But yeah, nothing really caught my eye. But you know, for like $6 a pop for these things, I was like, cool, we can take a shot on this. And I needed a brush and I needed the paint, so yeah, just some tiny little pickups. That's what I got at my latest nerd excursion, I guess. All right, guys, catch you next time.